Maxx Crosby and Kirk Cousins got into a fight.
Like this. Probably arguing over this.
Saturday, they were both held out of practice. Today, I wonder how many teams are calling Las Vegas asking, is Crosby available? You know, you tried to trade him in the offseason. The Ravens backed out. So he goes back to the team. You're not going to win this year. And you're going to start Kirk Cousins, which doesn't make any sense for the future of the team either, because Fernando Mendoza should get all of the reps with the first team and all the attention here in the offseason as the kid who's the future of the franchise. So you don't need Maxx Crosby. If you're Dallas, if you're Chicago, are you calling today seeing if Maxx Crosby is available and seeing what it would take? And with stuff like this, does that kind of shed light on the idea that, like, all right, he's causing fights in practice, he's hitting our quarterbacks in drills where you shouldn't be hitting the quarterback's arm? Is it going to lead to Maxx Crosby eventually getting dealt here during this season?
I think it will. I don't think the fight has anything to do with it. I don't think that Friday's incident has anything to do with frustration boiling over for Maxx Crosby or his want to be off the team. I think it's just a camp fight. Look, man, it's hot out there. We've seen camp fights throughout this last week and a half, whatever it's been for training camp. We're going to see more as the weeks goes on. We've got 5 weeks until the season starts. You're going to see a lot more fights. Like, guys are going to start to grade on each other. That's why I think that you've seen a lot more teams gravitate towards these joint practices ahead of preseason games with certain teams, because you can't just hit each other for extended periods of time, right? Like, it feels different and it feels good to have practices against other teams. And that's why you'll see a lot of these teams will get their, snap counts and their rep counts in against these other teams and then not play as long as they would in the preseason games, because the coaching staff believes that they got all their reps in or whatever against because they consider that as close to a game as possible, which, whatever, you want to believe that's good or bad, that's for the coaching staff. That's fine. But I don't think that this leads to anything. What I do think will lead to it is that we are seeing players drop day in and day out. I mean, you saw 2 offensive linemen just today. The Commanders announced today that Laramie Tunsil is going to be out maybe the entire year. You saw the center for the Lions.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell announced today that he's going to miss probably the first month or so of the season.
Mays.
So you've got guys that are dropping. And now I understand that those aren't defensive ends like Maxx Crosby is, but my point is that injuries are starting to pile up. And eventually, a defensive end, someone, will get injured. And then that call will be made. And we know the value of Maxx Crosby, which was 2 firsts, probably went down once the trade was canceled and the Ravens went back on it because of the knee issue. And they said, hey, we don't want to trade anymore. So now maybe the value is 1 first-round pick. Well, if you're playing from a position of power, if you're the Raiders and you're like, hey, well, you want your guy is injured. So-and-so player might be out for the entire year. Now you want Maxx Crosby. Maybe it costs 2 firsts again. Maybe because you lost X player for an entire year, you're a title contender because this player is out for an entire year. You mentioned the Bears. If Montez Sweat gets injured, which he's been banged up in training camp so far this season, this preseason, if he has an injury for the entire season, you could go out and say to the Bears, hey, you need someone for the entire season. It could cost you 2 first-round picks. You know what I mean? Any other team that needs a pass rusher. So, to me, I don't think that the fight has anything to do with it. I think the amount of injuries that we're seeing in training camp to high-profile players of need, could have something to do with it. And the Raiders could draw this out through training camp, through the preseason, and into the regular season until we get to the trade deadline, where you see some movement here at the trade deadline in case someone does get injured, or you see a team that maybe pops up as a contender that we didn't think would be a contender, that maybe is a Maxx Crosby away from being a real playoff contender that was maybe a fringy playoff contender.
Yeah, I would say the one thing that I would push back on in pointing out that there's a lot of injuries is we do this silly dance every training camp. Guys get hurt. It's football.
Yeah.
People get injured. And throughout the season, players will get injured. It's football. It happens. If you are a team that's hoping to go to the Super Bowl, you got to get lucky. That's just what it is. And if you're a team that has high expectations and something happens to your quarterback, you're likely not going to the playoffs that year. That's it. And I don't need to hear from 32 fan bases. That's just the roll of the dice of the NFL. If your quarterback goes down and is missing significant time, you're not going to make the playoffs. Very unlikely that that's the case. There's a couple backups that could hold down the fort and get you through and maybe get you to a 500 record in that fashion. But outside of that, we kind of know how that works. And there are always injuries in training camp. Tunzel, that stinks. Mays for the Lions, stinks. You know, there are injuries all over the place. You mentioned Chicago, Luther Burden, the guy who they're expecting to be the number one wide receiver this season. He's out until maybe the opener.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to miss like all of training camp with a groin injury. Think about it. Wide receiver, groin injury, missing all of camp. Probably not going to be great throughout the season in that situation. So we'll see. There are always injuries. I mean, hell, you talk about injuries in training camp. You haven't even mentioned San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
Their entire roster is injured for the most part. I know it's an exaggeration, but it feels like each day there's a new injury popping up for San Francisco here in training camp. So there's a lot of injuries, and we're just getting started. Like Thursday of this week, we have 6 preseason games. So, like, to me, the boredom of waiting through the summer to get back to football, and I know we had the Hall of Fame game last Thursday night, but essentially Thursday on, we got football to watch. And I get it, they're preseason games, but with 6 games on TV, you're going to be able to flip around, find it on the NFL Network. You're going to see your local team play. You know, there's going to be football in action. There's going to be backups fighting for positions. There's going to be end-of-roster guys trying to make teams. That's all fascinating. It's all great.
But my point is, we're saying the same thing, is that injuries are going to happen.
I thought you wanted to fight.
No.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't change the fact that I want to fight, but about different things. In this instance, we agree.
Yes.
We're saying the same thing. Injuries are going to happen. The Raiders have no rush in doing this. Maxx Crosby isn't saying he wants out.
They have no rush, but they also have no need to have him.
Okay, but what's the point of rushing this?
Unless they think that they're going to compete, that they can win the division.
But he is not causing problems. It's a camp fight. If he comes back to practice today and causes another camp fight, then you've got a trend, right? Then it's an issue. If he's throwing helmets, if he's doing all that kind of stuff, whatever, that's fine. That's completely different. One camp fight is an anomaly, right? By all means, he's said everything that he wants to be there. They've said they want him there. They have no rush to trade him whatsoever. They can wait until, like you said, it's the NFL, injuries happen, someone gets hurt, or a contender emerges that is a Maxx Crosby or believes that they're a Maxx Crosby away from competing for a Super Bowl or making the playoffs, and they go to the Raiders and they say, hey, here's 2 firsts, here's a first and a second, here's whatever. So they've got no rush. They can wait until the trade deadline, deep into the season if they want to. So I don't think that there's any rush whatsoever just because that there was a fight on Friday to start picking up the phone and taking the first or second offer that you're getting from GMs just because you see the headline that he and Kirk Cousins are getting into it, and Kirk Cousins had to G. Willikers him off the field, you know?
Let's take a listen. Here's Clint Kubiak, head coach of the Vegas Raiders, talking about Cousins and Crosby in their fight.
Yeah, that's training camp. You know, those 2 leaders of our team going at it. So that is part of camp. Obviously, you fight in the game, you throw a punch in the game, especially then you're out of the game. So we got to be smart, treat it like a game.
So there you go. Kubiak on why on Saturday Cousins and Crosby were not there at practice as Maxx Crosby hit Kirk Cousins twice in a drill. Cousins got in his face. He grabbed his jersey. I wonder what it's like to fight Kirk Cousins, Mr. Cole's Cash. What's that like? What do you think?
I imagine he puts up his dukes in a very old-fashioned way. Like he looks like someone fighting in like a very like 1910s, 1900 style.
Put him up.
You know,
put him
like,
up.
and like he does a little like back, like his feet are doing a lot of the working. You know, like dancing back and forth, and like Crosby's
I've actually seen videos online of dudes who are like in the street gonna fight someone, and then they do that, and then they knock the dude out.
Yeah, that's true. And I imagine Crosby,
because there's like some like boxing background there.
Well, that's fair. Or it's either Crosby doing the thing where he's just like holding his head and like
he's just swinging.
He's just swinging because he's not big enough, and Crosby's just holding his head because his arm is long enough, whereas Cousins doesn't have the reach to get him.
Well, like I would ask you this: where on the list do you rank Kirk Cousins as far as punchable faces in sports go?
Oh, I don't think he has a punchable face. I think Kirk Cousins is a nice guy. I've got nothing against Kirk Cousins.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, like I don't think he's got a punchable. I've got nothing against Kirk Cousins whatsoever.
I feel like they both give shades of, they're different. They come at it from different angles, but I feel like both Cousins and Crosby have shades of like try hard guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because like Crosby's like a wannabe singer, rap artist, right?
Crosby's like
you see, like he's got his music, and then Kirk Cousins is corny as all get out.
Yeah.
Ned Flanders, but like. He's also like he kind of gives the flair that like he thinks he's kind of cool.
I don't have like anything against. I don't think either of them are punchable. Okay. I don't think.
Well, no, you wouldn't want to punch Crosby because he would lay you out.
Yeah, I don't need.
Like
need
that
to get
dude's
into,
tough.
Yeah, I don't need to get into any of that.
That dude's like real tough.
No,
But it shades of try hard guy.
Yeah,
on both ends.
For sure.
On both ends. It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. You can call or text us at 310-840-4910 from the 443. The Raiders starting Cousins makes no sense. If he goes 2-4, maybe worse, then they'll start the rookie. Now you're putting your rookie quarterback in a losing situation. That's from Derek in Baltimore, texting the show this morning. Shout out to Derek. Be like Derek and join the show at 310-840-4910. And that's been my philosophy this entire offseason with the Raiders is you drafted a kid number 1 overall. Start the kid from day one. Let's go.
I'm honestly surprised, and you can watch our show at youtube.com/@Bleck and Abdalla show. Please subscribe, like all that good stuff, comment. And the comments on any video that we put up about that quarterback battle specifically are to the opposite. Like a lot of them are let the offense gel and then put in Mendoza. What do you mean? No,
that's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
No.
The offense is gelling with Mendoza. Let the offensive line learn and then put in. You put in Mendoza to learn with the offensive line. They get familiar with Mendoza. I'm honestly surprised by the amount of people that don't want Mendoza to start right away. Maybe it's a very vocal minority that is just commenting and that believes that this is the way that you're supposed to have the rookie sit.
Sure.
Because they've seen the 2 or 3 examples that ascend to be these great quarterbacks. And it's like, guys, that's 2 or 3 examples that ascend to be great. There are more examples that start right away than not.
Yeah, who turn out to be great quarterbacks. Absolutely.